I saw some sort of a vision a moment ago. There was a big four-wheel drive towing along a beautiful caravan along the main road. And as I watched it, what I saw happen was, in the spirit, the caravan, it didn't uncouple, but it moved from behind the car, through the car and over the car to the front of the vehicle. And it's as if to say that, and I use these words loosely, test this, but it's as if to say that the car somehow represented the church, the people of God, and that the car has been towing around God, taking God here and there and setting up camp here and there, like on a caravan site. And it just seems to me that we're coming into it. It's God's desire that we don't lead him around with our four-wheel drives, but he leads us. And so as the caravan shifts through and over and around the car, the people of God, there's going to be a time of excitement and confusion and all sorts of things, a time of reordering, reprioritizing, basically that. Because God hasn't left his people. In a sense, he's allowed them to drag him about. But now, as the caravan moves on and through the vehicle, let's not mistake that as the end game. God visiting his people or inhabiting with his people at this particular time is part of what he's wanting to achieve. What he's wanting to achieve is that the caravan tows the car. In a very simple way, the invitation that Jesus extends to every man, woman and child, he demonstrates to us in the Gospels when he says to the disciples, well, they're not even disciples then, are they? He just says to these guys, follow me. And I think to Peter, he's follow me, I'll teach you to be a fisher of men. And so let's not stop at the point of visitation or the point of inhabitation. That's not the end. The end is for us to be in right relationship with God and for us to follow him, for us to be taken by him where he wants to lead us to establish what he wants us to establish, to set up camp where he wants us to set up camp. So that was interesting to see that, how the caravan somehow, I don't have the words, because it wasn't invisible, it was visible. A bit like on Star Trek, I suppose. How often do we refer to Star Trek? When the thing begins to shimmer, and it was like that. This caravan moved through, over, across, and around the car, and repositioned itself at the front of the car. So we need to be watchful for this, because I suspect what will happen is that as the caravan and the vehicle appear to be in the same place, to some that might look like revival, and in a sense that could be the greatest distraction imaginable to the people of God. God is visiting us, God has inhabited this place. And maybe that's what God has always wanted from previous revivals. It's not to end there. In a sense, perhaps, our attitude to revival ought to be, in a sense, to ignore it and trust that as God moves through this, in this instance, this motorized camp, it's not for the purpose of revival, it's for the purpose of saying, I need to position myself at the head. We've been saying we're the head and not the tail, but in a sense there is a head that goes ahead of the head. And if we dare to allow this to happen, I don't think we're going to stop it from happening. It's, I believe the word of wisdom is, make sure that our response and our attitude to the moment in time when the caravan and the car would appear to be one, let's not get too excited about that. Let's not get too, oh, it's a revival, it's this and that, let's dare almost to ignore it and to allow God at that moment in time. Actually, I suppose we need to really humble ourselves, because God will be with us and amongst us, and it's not that he's leaving us, it's just that he's passing through our camp with a position of becoming the head of the camp, the motivating, the driving force that almost tows the people of God around. The car has to pull the caravan, not the other way around. And so we have this season of redress. So let's be watchful, let's be mindful, and let's honor God in the visitation, the inhabitation moment, and let's keep it real. Let's stay on our knees and our faces, and let's be really aware that God is moving through the camp. There's plenty of stories in the Old Testament when he's visited the camp and things don't always work out too well. Well, things always work out well, but in that particular moment it could look fairly horrific. And let's keep our hearts postured correctly, our attitudes correctly. Let's take thoughts captive, and let's get into that place where God is where he ought to be, and that is with us following him, not us building our own ministries, not us perpetuating. What's the point of repeating the same old and expecting different results? Didn't somebody describe that as insanity? So in a sense, God is wanting to bring an end to our insanity and to say, I've given you the mind of Christ, I've given you the wisdom of Christ, the knowledge of Christ, the power of Christ. And so, we're in for what might look like some exciting times. They might look like desperate times, but God needs to be in front of us. So we can put the brakes on if we like. We can repent. In fact, maybe the sooner we apply the brakes to the wrong things, the things that we've done in our own strength, the things that we've made happen because we've leant upon our own understanding, we can apply the brakes to that whenever we like, because this is a time of reordering, of realignment, not of decoupling, but of just getting the thing, getting the thing put in right order, because there's a reason that God's wanting to do this. There's a reason So he needs to bring correction because there's a so that, and the so that is that we can follow him. But there's another reason behind that. You know, God sees and knows everything. So he's got to get us, he's got to set things right, perhaps because he's got things that he needs to set right, and without setting us right first, he simply will not be able to achieve that which he needs to achieve. So I think we're approaching a great time in the Spirit, but there's some so that's, and ultimately it's about inheritance, ultimately it's about destiny, ultimately it's about his redemptive plan and purpose, and ultimately it's about dare we lay everything down in order to receive everything from him? Are we prepared to lose our lives in order to receive our lives? So, yeah, caravan, car, one's towing the other. Caravan somehow becomes this shimmering entity that passes over, through, and upon, and across the vehicle. As it does so, the two appear to be one, but they're not. They're in the same place, the same moment. Something very profound about that. But the caravan must be allowed to keep on moving so that it finds itself being the one towing the car.